Hey my Immortal Nerds, are you already farming the new Terror Essences? I bet you do. The first part of the major patch is available and we have new stuff for our best class in Diablo Immortal. Let's check out the Eternal Gear for the Barbarian, including the latest class balances. Is it worth farming all of the gear and changing your setup for Battleground and PvP? Well, there are actually some very interesting combinations. Let me show you. So we got our skills adjusted. This was done with focus on the Cleave, Hammer of the Ancient and the Demoralize. And with the new Eternal Gear, they took care of our Whirlwind, the Undying Rage, Sprint, Wrath, Leap and again the Hammer and the Cleave. With this, they overall reworked 8 of our skills. And as you can imagine, this can have a heavy impact on builds and tactics. Let's check out the class balances first. For our Barbarian, they started with the Decollator. The cooldown reduces from 9 to 6 seconds, increased the distance moved when using the skill. So this means that while the skills works very good with initial dash, we have 3 activations of that skill. They are working pretty fast, especially if you combine them with Visage, but as you can see we leap a bit while doing so. So they increased that leap a bit. Honestly, I think it's not too much, but when you do them in one direction, you can actually follow an enemy. And of course you have a knock up every time, so you disrupt them. Not too bad, but still I don't see that skill very good in PvP, but this needs to be tested. Next one, the Beggars Mallet, one Hammer of the Ancient essence. The cooldown was reduced from 9 to 6 seconds again, and the damage increased by 38%. Projectile speed increased by 40%. I don't think this skill was used very much before, I never saw it to be honest, and as you can see, as it's flowing faster and you have a good damage on it, but still as you don't have any knockback, knock up or stun or anything around it, I still think that change is not that heavy. Again, for the Hammer of the Ancient, they change another essence, the Peace and Quitus. Again, reducing the cooldown. I like this change, to be honest. Reducing the cooldown is nice. Getting that skill into use is very cool. So, when we throw the hammer, it will reach the target 50% faster, so faster attack speed or attack animation. And enemies hit by the second activation, when we rush to that location and we meet in between, will be stunned for 3 seconds. This is honestly not too bad because it is a dash, so it can activate our Gloom and gives us the additional crit chance. And as you see, it's working pretty fast now. So you have a big range with that hammer and you leap to that location very fast. That could be quite useful in PvP. Going over to the Demoralize. So 2 changes for the hammer, now 2 for the Demoralize. We start with the Visage of the Living Ancients. It says collision radius of the Ancient increased to 2.5 meters. At the end of the Ancient's charge, affected enemies will be stunned for 3 seconds. Again, a stun is very nice here. I think it's the Helmet Essence, which is quite difficult because of the other potential usage of that essence slot, like the Terror or a cooldown for the Berserker or a sprint duration or whatever. But let's check how this works out now. I think the issue was that when you put that skill on the enemy, he still was able to dash away once he reaches you, so he was not really blocked by it. So when it ends now in a stun, this could be quite potential. You pull them to you and they get stunned when reaching you. And this combined with the leap can actually be very cool because you can troll the enemies very hard. So I like that one. Still, I think the Helmet Essence is quite critical. Lastly, the Yowl of the Execration. I don't know, Execration, I think so. And the cooldown was reduced from 9 to 6 seconds. That is skill, that raw is really cool because it has a high damage. I think it's about 43k damage or something, so a big hit. And it stuns the enemy when you shout them and you push them into a wall. So nice combination. Again, I had a video on that in the past, where you put your own wall up with the hammer and then push them into that wall, and you have a nice stun. You can prolong the stun with the demoralize sort of in the offhand, and you have then like a very, very long stun that you can produce anytime you need it. Still, helmet slot, critical. I don't know if that really works out. Let's see. So overall, I think those are some very nice tweaks. They can help us with some new combinations, but honestly, to the current meta and to a really game-changing move, I think they are lacking here. So it's cool. Let's see how some parts of them works out, especially for the cleave. I see some cool chances for the Hammer of the Ancient with the piece on Quitus. I see a good usage for that too. I will be testing and hopefully soon provide you with valid combinations to make the most or bring the most effect to those skills. Let's get over to the Eternal Gear. The Eternal Gear really carries some crazy potential. So we start now with the first skill with the Whirlwind, but I think overall all of the adjustments in here are just worth going for, because they bring you some crazy perks that could really change your game style and can improve your damage overall, but especially for PvP a lot. Okay, Whirlwind. We have an essence here, is an attribute now, that brings our Whirlwind Rage an increase of 8%. So we know already that they are stackable and that you can stack them 4 times. That means an overall increase of range of 32%. When we look at the current essences we have with the Eager Maelstrom that already increases the radius of our Whirlwind, and we combine it with the Gathering to pull the enemies together, a 32% additional range, in addition to the Maelstrom range, can really mean a huge field. So if you go to max it and you have combined it with a Heartless Terror that makes you immune to any CC or knockback, you can really disrupt the enemies a lot. You go over the idle borders. You even are able to disrupt the enemy's backline with such a large Whirlwind. This will be definitely an S+ tier modification that is worth a try. Next, they finally did something for our Undying Rage. It states Undying Rage reduces by negative effect duration by 20%. I think that translation is not that good. When we look at the actual item, it says Undying Rage reduces negative effect durations by 20%. Okay, that sounds a bit better. Stackable 4 times, so you can get an 80% reduction of negative effects. So why is this good? When we are in the Undying Rage, we want to stay in battle as long as possible. Then Undying Rage procs, we are out of HP, we do not recover anything, and we now see we finally need to get away. People now trying to stun us to keep us there to finally kill us. With that negative effect duration decrease, we actually are able to escape. So if you stack that one 4 times, you will make a lot more positive escapes that improves your whole playstyle to be more valid in the game. Nearly the same will happen with the Sprint. The Sprint now offers a 25% chance for immunity to knockback, cold, and deceleration. So anything that slows you or knocks you up, it's not CC, you can still be stunned, but you cannot be slowed or hold in there. So a Sprint with a 25%, 4 times again, means 100%. We now have a real reason to use our Sprint again in PvP. Even with the helmet, and that's why I before said that the helmet slot shouldn't be blocked by some demoralized stuff. We need it now for the Sprint duration helmet. It brings us 100% uptime and 100% immunity to knockback, cold, or deceleration for our Barbarian with upcoming Sprint builds. I really like this change a lot. And if you look at the possibilities of a sprint, you can combine it with the dot spreader, with the Hell's Legacy that leaves a fire trail behind you. So it has a big potential. Or you can improve your dodge chance by 20%, something that is nice to reduce the damage you take. A lot of possibilities to really go for a sprint build to make you fast and mobile. And as we learned, our new essence for the Whirlwind does not or will not get any sprint bonus from the Wrath. So going into a sprint combination with the sprint skill here grants that new Whirl essence the full movement speed. So even for Whirl builds, immunity to knockback and everything, this could be the real game changer for Whirlwind builds. But beneath all of that, they still want to boost the current meta. So look at the Wrath of the Berserker. Wrath of the Berserker has a 20% chance to trigger an explosion every 0.5 seconds, causing damage to all nearby enemies. When we look at the essence itself, it gives you more details on the damage. It looks on my level as a 7,650 damage to all nearby enemies. That's pretty cool. It reminds me of our Wrath of the Berserker shoulder, which deals nearly a similar damage in addition every 0.5 seconds. That's quite a lot. So when you go with 100% uptime of the Wrath, with the Sundered Legacy or whatever, you have really a good damage increase when you stack that to 80%. That's really, really cool and a big benefit to the current meta. It could be combined with the crit Berserker. Because a crit Berserker has an issue, it brings you a lot of crit chance, 50% and everything, but you lose any damage it could deal. So you don't have a counter attack, you don't have a burn, you don't have a 50% crit damage increase or anything the other Wrath Essences brings. So it could be a good combination with the crit Wrath. Next one is Leap. That one is nice too. Leap now reduces damage by 10% for 3 seconds after the skill was used. Again, thinking about can be stacked 4 times means we have the possibility to grant a 40% damage reduction with a leap. That's crazy, right? It's the beginning of a real fully fledged tank build. If you combine it with a Car's Defiance, you get a shield and knockback immunity. And then you have that 3-second 40% damage reduction. It's crazy. You could go into really, really cool tank builds for the Barbarian that benefits from all of the shields and from all of the damage reduction. That can be the king of the idle again with that perk. So it's really nice. Now they have touched the Hammer of the Ancient here again. We already had the skill adjustments for the class balances, and now we have an attribute for that skill as well. It increases the critical hit damage against stunned enemies by 40%. So when we remember how that looks on the shotgun build, if you still remember that PvP build I showed you a few weeks ago, it fully benefits from stunning and dealing a heavy blow of damage while the enemy is stunned. So again, what do we have here? 40% x 4 means 160% higher critical hit damage. We combine it with the leap or with the gloom, where we have a high crit chance. We combine it with the shocking essence for the leap, so that we stun the enemy, and then we land heavy blows. And with that, we have really instant kills. That's what I promise you. So I like that perk a lot. It could be a crazy damage increase for the shotgun PvP build. Now, as they have changed the leap, they of course changed the Furious Charge as well. We had the Wrath already, that brings us a counter attack or an explosion attack every 0.5 seconds. Benefit to the current meta. Now we have the Furious Charge adjustment that benefits the current meta as well. It stats Furious Charge cooldown reduced by 0.02 seconds for every meter moved, stacking up to 4 times. What does it mean? It means that if you move 4 meters with a dash, you get a cooldown reduction of 0.08 seconds, so 4 times, and then you can stack this attribute 4 times. So 0.08 x 4 means 16, 20, 32. So you have a cooldown reduction of 0.32 seconds for every charge. So it's not that much, to be honest. It's not even half of a second. So I don't know if I did the math wrong. Please post to me if I misread here or anything. But honestly, I think that is not really worth going for, because overall you need to skip another attribute that could be primary attack damage or something. So I don't know if that was really worth the shot. Okay, lastly we go to Cleave. Cooldown is reduced by 0.1 second whenever your primary attack hits an enemy, stacking up to 4 times again. So it's the same stacking as we have for the Furious Charge, but we have a better cooldown reduction. So 0.4 seconds after 4 primary attacks. I think normally you will have 3. You will go with 1 lacerate a combo, so 3 attacks. Let's calculate with that, and it stacks up to 4 times. So 0.3 x 4 means 1.2 seconds cooldown reduction. So if we look at the Decollator that we had in the class balances, we already have only a cooldown of 6 seconds. We already used some time because it has multiple activations, and the cooldown runs after the first activation already. So we have I think a cooldown of 3 seconds overall, 3 to 4 seconds overall after using the three activations, and then we get reduced by 1.2 seconds on that part. So we stick with 2 to 3 seconds only cooldown on that Decollator combo, and that sounds pretty interesting in my opinion, because every attack has a knock up. Every attack disrupts the enemy. Again, combined with a Heartless Terror, where you can freely use that skill, it could be a crazy good combination to just disrupt the enemies. Okay, and lastly, and that's quite important that you don't forget it, I showed you some items in here, but never forget that one item can have multiple attributes out of that new Eternal Gear stuff. So you can have 2, 3, I think up to 4. I'm not sure about 4, but I have seen some items with at least 2 of the active skills, as we have it here, where you have a sentry and a multi-shot. So it's pretty cool, and you can get those 4 stacks very easy without losing too much of the other benefits. With all of that knowledge we have now, with the class balances, the skills in there, the Eternal Gear, with all of the different crazy new stuff we have, I see a few combos that will work out pretty good. First of all, the Hammer of the Ancient shotgun build. With 160% crit damage, this gets crazy. You will have very, very good kills and delete the enemy backline easily. Check out the video here, I link it for you by the way. The next thing, the Decollator Cleave Disrupt build with a very low cooldown. I think that one is interesting too. I need to do some testings, and I will give you a video on that very soon, that you get an idea if this is really worth going for or not. Next, the Whirlwind Gathering Interrupt. With that additional range from the Maelstrom, that additional range from the Eternal Gear, you will have a large pull that with a Heartless Terror is absolutely impossible to block and will collect everything to you. So that is really, really nice. Then the sprint interrupt. I like that one as well. If you now go with the high range from the Whirlwind and you are able to get another four attributes for the sprint to make you 100% immune to any knockbacks or slows, then you could go with the crazy speed Whirlwind interrupt build. That's even cooler. You can skip the Heartless Terror, you can save that slot for a different essence to make you survive longer with the Undying Rage, to give you the sprint duration, to have a nearly 100% uptime or anything. It could be a crazy build just to annoy every enemy out there. Okay, next, the boost of the current meta, of course with the cooldown from the Furious Charge and the Wrath area of effect damage. That two, I think, are not that strong, but they really benefit the current builds. So it will help you to make it more efficient, which is nice. Thank you for doing that, Blizzard. I think people who like the current meta will be happy with that new attributes. And then lastly, one big thing in my opinion is the 40% damage reduce, the Leap Tank. If we have a nice build with the Leap Tank, I don't know, with the Demoralized Helmet that gives you a shield and immunity again, with the Whirlwind on the 20% damage reduction Essence Shoulder, something like this, to go into a real tank build that can live very long under the idol. I like those 6 combos the most. I think they have a high potential. And the next weeks and the farming for those essences will show which of the combinations will work out best. And I keep you posted on that. So overall, to be honest, I like the patch very much because we have a new open world challenge. Yes, for all of you who are already maxed out. Of course, those enemies in the open world will not be that strong. You will just murder them like you always do in the open world. But honestly, as I found for myself, some Whirlwind builds do not work as I expect. They do not deal enough damage to be fast enough to get 3 or 4 bosses down in one Terror Rift. So again, I like the challenge that the new content is providing to improve our open world farming methods. Even for those guys out there who are not yet finished with all of their builds, who are still looking for how can I deal more damage, how can I improve my playstyle, they will be challenged with that and they will have a lot of fun improving and conquering those rifts. That's what I really think. On the other hand, it's quite a lot of work because you need to grind as hell to get all of those legendaries, to get 2 times 4 the right essence on the right equipment with the right attributes on there. It's really a lot of work. I like the challenge, yes, of course, I always like challenges, but it will take some time. And the question is, will the time be enough until the next Inferno or now Abyss stage reaches us? Or will we be constantly farming those things to be feature complete? I think that will take a lot of time. I like the challenge, and don't get me wrong, I like this update. Still, it is a lot of work update. So we are back to Diablo grinding. Thank you for that. So I hope you like this changes as much as I do. Let me know your view. Post me any crazy learnings you have. I'm very curious how you will discover all of those little things and how you can bring them to use. Keep me posted. Write to me in the comments. Write to me on Discord. Wherever in the game, just reach out. I'm looking forward to that. I wish you all the best with the new patch. Have fun farming, and hopefully you liked this video. Click subscribe if you want to get all of those other informations I will gather in the upcoming weeks. And see you soon, my friends. Have fun.